You are about to meet someone you'll never forget. Her name is Susan Powter, a woman whose own disappointing experiences with the diet and fitness industry led her to discover the truths to taking back her life and becoming lean, strong, and healthy. Thousands have heard her message, and now you can too. It's time to take control. It's time to stop the insanity.
And the deprivation and the doing anything to be skinny. It's waking up every day hating the way you look and feel. It's beating the heck out of ourselves all the time because we don't look and feel the way we want to look and feel. I want all of you to walk out of here tonight with the power and the control and the knowledge that you need to change the way you look and feel forever, and it can be done.
Susan Jane Powter, born December 22nd, 1957, was, for a brief window in the early 90s, a pretty popular figure among those seeking weight loss, particularly women, as they were her target audience. She is viewed as a motivational speaker, a nutritionist, a personal trainer, as well as an author, and in the 90s, she pushed her own weight loss advice with the catchphrase, "Stop the insanity! The madness! The horrors! Oh, God!" As far as what that insanity was, well, she was highly critical of the, as she tended to refer to it, the big boys in the weight loss industry. Or really, weight loss as an industry in general. She was against the power, the man, the corporations. Yeah. She was kind of a hippie. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But in the early 90s, her sort of countercultural fight the power attitude was very popular. And she fit right in with the general MTV attitude of the time. But, unfortunately for her, her fame wouldn't last. Unlike a lot of the more positive infomercial personalities that I've discussed, Susan has gone through a pretty steep decline over the years, and only recently has making a serious attempt at regaining some of her prominence. But let's start at the beginning. As I said, she was born on December 22nd in 1957, but not in America. She was born in Sydney, Australia, and she and her family would move to the United States when she was 10 years old. She would drop out of high school in the 9th grade, but eventually earn a GED, and in 1980, her family relocated to Dallas, Texas. And just the following year, she met her first husband, named Nick Villarreal, who she married in 1982, and together they would have 2 sons. However, this relationship was not destined to last. Just a month after giving birth to her second child, Powter discovered that her husband had been having an affair. She was, of course, absolutely livid and disgusted with him, and the couple would divorce. According to her own story, this is actually where her weight loss journey began, because, well, this is actually when she started to gain quite a bit of weight. It wasn't just the pregnancies. I mean, it's pretty normal for a woman to gain a little bit of weight on a pregnancy, but that wasn't really the kicker. What was the stress of the divorce. She was heartbroken, of course. And to alleviate that stress, she turned to food. Eating and eating and eating. Just so much food. All the delicious comfort foods, the ice creams and the candy. Anything to take her mind off of what was a pretty bad situation for her. According to her, she went from 130 pounds to 260. And it was at that point that she realized, wow, I have a problem. But on its own, that realization itself is pretty motivational. I mean, some people gain weight and are just like, yep, this is my life now. I have chosen this. But Powter didn't let herself languish, and she turned to the available diet books, as well as workout tapes, but according to her, neither of them really helped her. She started developing her own system, focusing on walking as well as cutting out sugar and processed foods, particularly those that were high in fat content. And she lost the weight. She dropped 114 pounds by doing this. And she wanted to share her story with other people that were struggling, particularly women. Interestingly, this was spurred by yet another tragedy. Her mother would pass away in 1988, but Powter would inherit a pretty decent amount of money, enough to open her own fitness studio. which saw decent success in the local area, but she was thinking bigger, better, success on a national scale. And in 1990, Powter would approach a Dallas-based publicity representative named Rusty Robertson, which is such a Dallas name. Sorry. Only in Texas would I expect to meet someone named Rusty Robertson. I don't have a picture of him, but I assume he looks like this. That's my guess, but you know what? It's okay. Robertson agreed to help Powter, as he thought she was particularly charismatic, and she is, frankly. So he began to work with her and booked her on radio talk shows. This would lead to a book deal, and then later the infomercial, advertising Powter's Stop the Insanity health and wellness kit. This kit would include audio cassettes, an exercise video, as well as at-home recipes for healthier food options. The infomercial, combined with everything else, propelled her to some level of stardom. She was recognizable for her incredibly short hair, fit appearance, as well as generally entertaining persona. Not only was she incredibly charismatic and passionate, but frankly, she was actually kind of funny too.
I went to the diet industry. It's where you go when you're fat, isn't it? Because you have been programmed. Don't think, darling, don't think. You come into our program, we'll think for you. We'll give you cards and things and applaud you when you lose a pound or two, and don't think. We'll even give you some freeze-dried food for $200 a week. You give us your money, and we'll give you the caca-duty food that we have. And it's a hell of a lot of money. It is. I went to a doctor-sponsored, underline doctor for me, would you? Doctor-sponsored fast program. They put me on a diet. It's reasonable. I'm 260. It's pretty fair. They put me on a 600-calorie-a-day drink. You know the kind you shake? You know the kind you've all been on? You know the kind they sell in the convenience stores now? They put me on. And I shook it twice a day, and I drank it. And I drank it for a long time. So don't tell me I didn't have discipline. If you have been on a diet for more than 5 minutes, you deserve a discipline medal. But don't you know? So did I lose the weight? Of course I lost the weight. Did I gain it back? Like 98% of us. But we keep doing it, and doing it, and doing it, and doing it. And the reason is, we're desperate. And we're going to the authorities, and they're lying to us and ripping us off. So that didn't work. I tried it 5 times. Every time I failed, I thought, what is it about me? What, after I have kids, Nick leaves, and all of a sudden I can't feel good again? What's about? I have no discipline. I'm a lazy slob. I'm an emotional wreck. Well, I started to get depressed. No joke. My marriage broke up. I was 260 pounds. I had 2 children, 11 months apart. So I go to the doctor, I'm a little depressed. Why wouldn't I have been depressed? I tried number 2, the fitness industry. Now, the diet industry is on my hit list in a big way. Could you imagine what I think about the fitness industry? I walked into an aerobics studio at 8 a.m. in the morning with 2 children in tow. I walk down the stairs, I go to the front desk, I say to the clone of my ex-husband's girlfriend, I said, hi, I'm here for the 8:15 class, and she looked up and went, oh my God! I walk in, everybody assembled, and I thought, well, apparently the mirrors aren't too good with the reflective stuff because she can't see that a 260-pound woman just walked in this room. She picked up the mic, blared the music, and went, 5, 6, 7, 8, breathe! Come on, let's breathe! 1, 2, and breathe! Breathe with me, please! Let's breathe and breathe! No, so I had to, put this together for a moment. Give me a moment. I had to think, all right, you want me to do this? Let me just get it straight. And you want me to breathe. Breathe. Then Bambi wanted me to smile. Smile. While turning blue, while planning her death.
Now, whether or not you agree with her railing against the fitness industry as a whole, since by definition she is a part of it, you can't argue with the results she provided to people. Many, still to this day, go on record saying that her system actually did work for them. And in my opinion, I think it's because she was so focused on the food angle. A lot of these infomercial fitness gurus will only focus on the exercise regimen. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Exercise is a very good thing, especially if you're looking for weight loss. However, that's only half the general equation. Food is important too, and more specifically, what kind of food you are consuming. You could exercise for 3 hours straight, really pumping the iron, really getting all that cardio in, but if you come home and eat 3 gallons of ice cream, it probably won't amount to much, you know? But Powter's system combined both the food as well as the exercise. The combination is important here, and while some of her advice is considered a bit dated, as true to the 90s, she was especially focused on a food's fat content, whereas now scientists believe that it's less the fat and more the sugar. The fact was that a lot of the food that had high fat content was also pretty high in sugar too, and she would say to avoid that as well, so it still worked for people. She was considered very motivational, and for a time it seemed like she was going to be a star that would stick around, but not without some level of controversy. Her infomercial propelled her to being somewhat of a household name, but her own brother would come out and begin criticizing her, saying that her own weight loss story was actually a lie, that she had never been overweight at any point, and that she was making it up in order to scam people out of all their hard-earned money. The media would catch wind of this, and Fox News would even run a segment on it, but even according to them, because Powter agreed to talk with them, they found that the lie here wasn't really that major in the grand scheme of things. See, Powter had maintained during her spiel that she had lost all her weight about 4.5 years prior. The truth was that it had been about 7 years prior, but she presented pictures showing that she had indeed been overweight, and that she had clearly lost it because, well, I mean, she obviously wasn't overweight anymore. Fox News would readily admit that this was the case, though her brother still consistently railed against her. But as far as Susan was concerned, he was just jealous of her success. They had been on bad terms for a while, and neither wished to speak to the other. So I kind of think that she might be right in saying that he was just envious and trying to be a jerk. He seems to come off that way in my mind, and the lie here I think is just an honest mistake on Powter's part by getting a bit carried away. See, when she first would have started her spiel, 4 years would be the truth. But as time went on, she kept with the same script, but never actually updated the years we're talking about here. I think this is just an innocent flub and not an intentional deception. Because, I mean, let's be fair. Oh, she didn't lose her weight 4 years ago. She lost it 7 years ago. Like, okay, but she still lost the weight though. Like, if it came out that she had done the weight with, like, liposuction or something, I could completely understand the controversy. But it's just an innocent discrepancy on how exactly long ago it happened, with only a difference of about 3 years. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. And most people didn't think it was a big deal. The women that supported her didn't think it was a big deal, and they were in the middle of losing weight based off of Powter's advice, meaning that she was genuine, and her system worked. That was good enough for most. She had also married again in 1989 to a man named Lincoln Aplin, though they would also wind up divorcing in 1995. She had no kids with him, but she did adopt a third son after that divorce and raised him as a single mom. He was just a baby at the time, and by all accounts, Susan does seem to have been a very good mother, with all 3 of her sons growing up and living pretty standard, happy lives. But as I said in the beginning, her fame would not last. She fell almost as quickly as she rose. Her peak is considered to be around 1994 because she would get her own talk show on television called The Susan Powter Show, which only ran for a single season. The show was not so dissimilar from her infomercials, that was a bit more grounded and down to earth. She discussed nutrition and fitness and other topics with her guests, but according to her, it was a really awful experience. The producers had attempted to doll her up for television, making her dress a lot more feminine and more typical as their expectations would come, but Powter was never like that. Her brand was about being an outspoken woman. who dressed however she wanted and cut her hair really short, fight the power and all that. That was like her whole thing. So this didn't sit well with her, or with anybody else. The show might have got a second season, but she herself would walk away from it, not wishing to deal with her producers anymore. And though she would become a regular on the television sitcom Woman of the House in 1995, that show also only lasted a single season. And I have a feeling that a lot of you didn't even know it existed until I just now told you. Despite being planned to be a regular, Powter only appeared in a single episode, since, well, there was only one episode to put her in the one season the show had. From then on, she fell off, and fell off hard. She wrote a few more books as well as having a blog, but the money was starting to dry up. While she had made millions of dollars throughout her short time in the limelight, that money was spent very, very quickly, and not even by her. According to a much later interview with her, Powter would explain that she had trusted the money to a bunch of business partners. For one thing, the proceeds from her program was split 50-50 with her partners and herself. This proved to be a bad call, and a lot of the money she did have was spent on lawsuits in the 90s, trying to get a lot of what she believed was hers back again. In 1995, she actually had to declare personal bankruptcy, but sales continued to come, and she did eventually make a lot of it back. But by the 2010s, that would change yet again. She had fallen off, and a lot of people didn't even know who she was anymore. In fact, I feel like a lot of younger people watching this are still like, wait, I don't even know she existed. And that's okay, you weren't around for this. It's fine, she's one of those celebrities that came and went. And despite managing to get a lot of the money she had back, sales for her program would eventually fall off, as people that wanted it already had it. Advertising was no longer in the cards, and the thing about television, and Hollywood in general, is that if you enter it and then leave, slamming the door behind you, most producers aren't going to want to work with you anymore. She found that she had a lot of trouble getting back on television after the failure of her own show as well as Woman of the House. And eventually, it turned out that she just didn't have any money left. The people she had managing her accounts had spent a lot of it on things that she didn't even know about, and thus, she was effectively destitute. She still did the occasional interview throughout the 2000s, but it seemed like she was getting a lot more stressed out, and you could kind of tell because she was getting a lot more extreme, even by her standards. She always railed against the man in the machine, but now it was really, really coming at people, specifying white men. Thank you for that. Really appreciate you coming at me. Specifically, I didn't make the machine, Susan. You can't blame us for everything, okay?
One woman said, well, according to a study done by, they found that neurons in the heart actually do. I mean, that's working for the white man right there. The government that you believe in allows our children to be killed. It's like listening to Dr. Phil talk about fat. He's fat. Very.
And a lot of her interviews kind of came off as just a modern Twitter thread. She also described herself as a radical feminist housewife, which seems to be a bit of a contradiction in terms, if you're asking my opinion. Like, I feel like one of these words doesn't belong here, based off of what my understanding is, but hey, she owned it. But none of this was helping her turn her career around. By the 2010s, she was living in an RV, not even a house, and in order to make any kind of income, she was delivering food for both Grubhub and UberEats. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, mind you. I've done gig work before too, but I think it's kind of surprising to hear someone who was once on top of the world in terms of the Hollywood limelight to have to resort to that. At the same time, I can't help respect the grind here, and to her credit, in later interviews, she blamed nobody but herself for this. She said she had just trusted the wrong people when it came to managing her money, and that, had she handled it differently, she would never have had to resort to this sort of work. But she did, and she still buckled down and did it, even as she entered her 60s. She suffered a pretty serious health scare during this time, and had to enroll in Medicaid. And as she got older, doing the Grubhub thing was getting a lot more difficult. I mean, she's getting to the age where people usually retire, you know? But she didn't have that option anymore, and she had to resort to welfare, which did alleviate her issues quite a bit, but it certainly didn't help her regain the fame she once had. People just didn't know about her anymore. And in fact, in at least one instance, her fame actually worked against her. See, she had gotten a job as a waitress, which is totally reasonable, honest work, but her boss found out who she actually was, and felt that she was only there to write an expose on the restaurant for being unhealthy. Now, to be clear, Susan was not working at this place for that purpose. She was just trying to make an honest living, and I don't think she ever wrote an expose on any kind of restaurant or any such thing. That wasn't really something she ever did. But her boss, or former boss, believed this wholeheartedly and fired her just because of who she was, which is pretty scummy. I mean, this woman is getting older and she's just trying to work. Whether you agree with all her takes or not, she's just trying to make an honest living, guys, and I think she's entitled to that, but no. For a while, things seemed hopeless, but more recently, it does seem like things might be looking up for her. For one thing, her sons have come back into the picture to try to help their mom out. See, according to her, for a while, they didn't even know how bad off she was, because she just straight up didn't tell them, because she didn't want her kids to be worried about her. Which is sweet, but her sons do seem to love her, so they've done what they can. Additionally, she made friends with Jamie Lee Curtis. What? Where did you come from, Jamie? I mean, don't get me wrong, Jamie Lee Curtis is great. She's had a long and successful career, she's a great actress, and I think her only major sins are helping a yogurt company make somewhat exaggerated claims about their product, as well as that movie. Because I still don't know how you managed to make a worse Halloween movie than Halloween Resurrection. How did you pull that off? This is a serious question that requires a serious answer. Did you see this crap? What was the moral lesson here? What were they thinking with any of this? Oh, don't be nice to the weird kid because he's almost guaranteed to be a weird serial killer. Yeah. Did you forget that Michael Myers was the focus here? Like, honestly, if you watch the final 15 minutes, it's fine, but the rest of it is utter garbage. God, at least I can laugh at Halloween Resurrection, and Halloween 6 had the excuse of not being finished properly. This did nothing but made me mad, and it started so well. Halloween 2018 was outstanding. And, okay, Halloween Kills wasn't amazing, but it was watchable. But this... Jamie, I'm sorry, I couldn't, not that one. No. Anyway, sorry, I got completely off topic there, goodness. Like I said, Curtis became friends with Powter and stepped in to try to help her out. Jamie would co-produce a documentary about Susan Powter's life called Stop the Insanity, Finding Susan Powter. And in 2024, she did release a new book, a memoir called And Then M Died, Stop the Insanity. A very Powter title, if you ask me. According to reviews on Amazon, the book is apparently pretty good. 4.7 stars out of 5. As far as whether or not the documentary will be a huge success, it's hard to say. But truthfully, I do wish her the best. Because again, for all of Susan Powter's flaws, whether you like her, whether you don't like her, I don't think she ever did anything that was inherently immoral or evil. She made an honest living trying to promote a healthy lifestyle, and according to many, her system actually worked. She helped a lot of people get into better shape, to lose the weight that they desperately wanted to. In that way, regardless of her current financial position, her life is a net positive. Because, listen, when we die, we don't take our money with us. Okay, the money doesn't come with us after the death thing. It's kind of one of those basic facts of life. But you know what I believe does come with us? Our good works. The things we contribute to other people's lives. The good and the bad. And I think Susan, at the end of the day, has definitely put a heck of a lot more good in the world than bad. I don't know if she'll ever get her life back on track, though I do have an idea. A concept, if you will. Hear me out, Susan. I don't think you're watching this. But if you are, just follow me on this. You're getting up there in years. I don't want to call you old. You're only as old as you feel, but you are 67. However, this is a good thing in my context, because why don't you come up with a new exercise and diet regimen for people your age? Do you have any idea how many seniors struggle with staying physically fit? Because, I mean, as we get older, things start breaking. in our bodies, generally. I mean, just the side effect of aging. It happens to all of us, and working out and staying in shape gets progressively more difficult. But hey, you could come up with a brand new kind of exercise and diet regimen for people that are struggling with that, who are a lot older. Ooh, what if you got Tony involved? Yeah, get Tony Little on that screen. Come up with something together. He's just as old as you are, and both of you are remaining in pretty good shape in the modern day. I mean, you could come up with something great together for people that are older, and even pitch it together. Imagine both of you on screen doing your shtick at the same time. That would be such peak 90s awesomeness, Susan. I'm just saying, probably never gonna happen. But you know, I can dream. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fun farewell.